Thanks so much. Yes, thanks so much, Paige, for giving me the opportunity. And it's a great honor to be here today. And thanks to the community of the Pangeo for having this versatile and continuous activity. So today, I'll be discussing on data inclusivity and ensuring that the users actualize their needs in the Global South. The perspective of the discussion will be around the ocean and coastal ocean data. Now, sorry, can you see my screen clearly?
Yes, we can see it. Looks great.
Yeah, great. So now the scientific community, particularly those in the Global South, have been greatly disadvantaged. And based on this, we've seen records of huge inequalities, especially in accessing knowledge and as well participating in scientific activities, and also lack of resources in this region. In this region, there are weak science system and huge exclusions from the scientific community, which are further marginalizing these people. However, these exclusion and discriminations are somehow based on race, gender, and various social and economic factors, including technological factor. Now, there are critical issues and gaps affecting science and data in the Global South, and they include, some of them include low data literacy among the general public, and as well inadequate legislation in some scientific areas or scientific communities there. And apart from that, issues surrounding non-compliance, because they don't have the information and the awareness to be able to connect with international data standards. And apart from that, some data are outdated. They don't have adequate and recent technological solutions. Apart from this, there are issues surrounding incentives amongst the data communities and the inadequacies in utilizing already collected data. Apart from this, there are various knowledge and compliances with regulations, particularly people, scientists producing data. So all this knowledge are not coordinated together, and this as well connect with issues surrounding openness and as well interoperability of these systems. Now, in the Global South, who are the people at risk of data exclusions? We have low-income households. We have coastal communities. We have people with aged factor, and as well some small-scale businesses, and as well some people that are not fortunate to attend schools. So all these groups are facing exclusions in terms of data in the Global South. Now, besides, let's look at the data value chain, starting with creating the data, transforming the data, and as well adding value down to the users, actualizing and making sure they explore those data for benefits. Now, you can see in the real sense, we have the data creation allows to create and acquire data. The transformation part allows to compare and transform the data down to analyzing them and using them for the impact. And you can see the communities, the business are the people that are in need of this data. However, in the global south, they are disenfranchised from getting access to these resources. Now, data ecosystem governance that we all know includes the actors, and we know the actors as the consumers, the intermediary, and the producers. And as well, there is issue of the people demanding the data. Who are the people demanding data? The demand for the data are for research and also to solve problems, and as well for many purposes. Now, the supplier of the data, they are faced with the issue surrounding the costs of the data manipulation and extraction, including the quality. And this data ecosystem infrastructure works with exploring the stakeholders in terms of the incentives, collaborations, including how people communicate in terms of exploring this data. And you cannot dissociate the data infrastructure, that is having the technical architect and the functionality of this data from this. But in the global south, all these structures are still are affected by inadequate coordination. Now, the user needs now, based on the last slide, you can see that we have the data sets, we have the infrastructure, we have data literacy, and even decision-making literacy. Now, the data set contains the content and the value of the data in terms of being inclusive and reliable. The infrastructure is about the system in place to sustain and facilitate the use of this open data, and as well, being literate of this issue talks about the skills that is required to assess, to explore, and to ensure that this data is shared. Then we talk about the issue about this data for decision making, that is need to have skills to be able to explore, translate this data into meaningful and ethical decisions. So apart from this, we have issues surrounding leadership, value to and perceptions, and as well the users, the need of the users community, and as well legal and policies surrounding the data management, and as well standards. So with this, we realize that there are issues surrounding gender and minorities inclusions, and it is expected to see how all stakeholders can be put together in a way that this data can be available to all and sundry, that is the vulnerable people, and even down to women, because we realize in Africa and Asia, women and some excluded and vulnerable communities do not have access to this data. Now, so the data lifecycle management talks about acquiring the data, storing them, processing, using the data, and as well disposing them if they are not relevant, or as well saving or archiving them for regulatory reasons. So now this data requires to be interoperable, that is in a way that this data working together in their various forms. So it is in data management practice, issues surrounding semantics, the data architecture, down to data language, and even how to exchange and present this data are tools that are required. Like I said, also, these are things that are still challenging in the global south. Now, issues on data sharing in the global south. So now some of these data, they are shared, and some of these data are not visible to stakeholders. Apart from these, people that are in charge of managing the data do not harmonize the different languages of the data that we have. And as well, though the data, some of the data are available, but they are not usable because they are not placed in the form that the common users will be able to use them. Now, data inclusion in the global south. Now, there's need to follow the various frameworks that we have that can allow us to manage this data. So they include, one of them is trust. So trust is about transparency, data being transparent, responsibility, and as well user focus. That is, the users need to be attended to, and it needs to be to satisfy the intentions of the users, and as well the data needs to be sustainable, and even technology and infrastructure including that should be in place. Now, besides, we have the fair principle as well. This principle talks about the data being able to be findable, accessible, and as well be able to connect together and be able to reused. Then as well, we have the care principle, the principle that talks about collective benefits, authority to control, responsibility, and as well ethics factors. So now in Nigeria, we're able to work around citizen science as a way by which we can allow open access data to be shared with the people in the global south. So we have a project, so the project works with the local communities to be able to solve problems that are contained in the SDG. And with this project, we are able to explore stages of designing and implementing a citizen science initiative that talks about identifying the problem, determining the approach to use, and as well we design the project, and as well we're able to categorize and build the community. And after that, the data were managed and evaluated for the purpose. With this, we're able to explore this framework to ensure that this data is planned, collected, assured, analyzed, and as well integrated for usage. So, and with this data, we're able to ensure that they are placed to positions where decision makers will be able to explore and use this data. Now, the best practices that are explored to generate and publish this data include number one, organizing the data with citizen scientists, and as well people organizing the project, gathering data, and as well all the required infrastructures. We're able to prepare all data, including all sensitive information, then organize them, and as well publish them under open access. Some of these assets are tools that are available that which we can always publish the data. Then besides, there are assurance process that can be used. Number one is collecting the data, analyzing them, and as well ensuring that this can be visualized and as well be able to integrate them into public usage. And besides, now talking towards open science now. So what is open science? Open science is another tool that we think can assist the global south to be able to tackle some of their problems, including scientific, infrastructure, and as well socioeconomic problems. Now, open science is a tool that allows to have open methods, open sources, and as well open data, including accessing and having open resources, and as well having open review methods. So all these come with open communication. The learning material that are expected to be used must be available, and there as well transparency, including having the technological tools being available to them. Now, open science for inclusion, it means that it should be accessible, there should be open review as well. The resources should be available, including the open science tool includes having a proper open ideas. Number two, collecting and analyzing the data. Then three, publications, and as well mobilizing the knowledge for the data. So all these come with community engagement. innovative technology, innovative challenges, open data, including open innovation, and as well knowledge communication exchange, and as well knowledge interaction. So what are the benefits of open science to the global south? Number one, it will allow collaborations and opportunities. It will also give access to high citation for researchers and scientists in the global south. Apart from this, it will enable transparency in the research process, and as well, it will allow visibility, because so many researchers are trying to explore their research, even with the limitations of their technology in the global south. But with open science principles, their research will be visible and there will be greater potential impact of their research. Apart from this, there will be higher efficiency and there will be value for the economic benefit of research being conducted, and they will be able to comply with the adequate measures. So how do we promote data inclusivity in the global south? Number one, we should activate the marginalized voices in science. We should allow them to come on board, to give them the support for them to participate in research. We should also create awareness whereby they can be able to access the data, and as well, there should be issues, you should tackle issues around it, exclusiveness, and we should always find equity across data value chain. Apart from this, now there's need for partnership, and that is why the SDG 17 comes to play. Partnerships and collaboration between the global and the global south is essential. So with this, it will allow implementation of SDG through partnership, and as well, partners from the global south will get involved, and as well will be able to enhance funding from them. And apart from this, global south countries, they are least able to advance their sustainable development independently. So there's need for capacity support from the global north. So possible solutions with this is there's need for more investment of establishment of multi-country partnership, focusing on the north-south partnerships. And apart from this, there's need for north-south partnership needs to have mutual and non-discriminatory and equitable way solutions, and as well be able to find a way to fill in the gap between the global and global south, particularly establishing and implementing partnerships for sustainable development. So the way forward is, number one, no one should be left behind. We should see, scientists should see how to work with non-scientists in the context of the citizen science. Let's work with non-scientists because some of them have traditional knowledge of these resources. And also let's combine approaches such as bottom-up and top-bottom in a way to collect data and share them, to be able to use them, and as well to be able to look at the requirement of the SDG, talking about the cruciality of growth through data value chain. And it is important to see the benefit of sharing data with inclusiveness to the African and the Asian and the South American continent. It is with this, it cannot be underestimated. And as well, data inclusions is important for the global south. That is with no bargain. And as well, there will be need to exchange and adapt lessons from the global north, and this with need is on the matter of urgency. So there's need for the global north and the global south to always exchange and adapt lessons, because for environmental and ocean science management, we have local or traditional communities that have historic knowledge or historic data that they can always share with scientists. So there's need to exchange ideas and adapt information with this. So on this note, I conclude, and I want to thank the organizer for inviting me to this presentation, and I hope we're going to continue the discussion at the question and answer forum. Yeah, thank you so much.